The gentleman from Pennsylvania, Mr. Meuser, is now recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you to you all very much for being here. It's a very worthwhile hearing and really important. So stablecoins, when properly regulated, can provide faster, more efficient payment options and help keep the U.S. dollar at the forefront of global financial systems. They can accomplish these goals without the privacy and free market concerns associated with a central bank digital currency. Whip Emmer, as we know, has introduced the Anti-CBDC Surveillance State Act that protects Americans' privacy by preventing the direct issuance of a CBDC, which I did co-sponsor. As well, states have taken different approaches to regulating digital assets. This patchwork, however, has gotten the stablecoin ecosystem to where it is today, but if we want to see the benefits of payment stablecoins nationally, Congress needs to act. We need to enact a federal framework for stablecoin issuance. So, Ms. Butler, BNY is one of the oldest and largest custodians in the world. Can you describe how custody in the traditional financial system differs from custody in the payment stablecoin ecosystem?
Thank you very much, Congressman, for your question. It doesn't differ because the custody that we provide for the reserve assets of a stablecoin, for example, taking cash deposits and then taking non-cash securities into our custody, applying asset safety and segregation rules, is the exact same that we would do for the traditional custody that we provide.
All right, great. BNY Mellon, of course, holds reserve assets for major stablecoin issuers like Circle. How did BNY Mellon and Circle decide to form this partnership, and what custody standards were agreed upon to ensure that Circle's reserves were securely held?
So again, our custody standards were the same long-standing standards that we have for all custody that we provide globally around the world. In terms of deciding to take on the custody reserves for Circle, we followed our practices of business and risk framework. We looked at the client, their legal permissibility, their regulatory coverage. We looked at the activities that they were performing and were those activities legal and permitted. And we looked at the assets themselves, and in this case, given the assets are very traditional assets, so again, cash and cash equivalents, that fit right into the standard custody that we provide.
Okay, great. So clearly, you believe it is important for banks and non-banks to have the same custody rules for stablecoin reserves.
We do, yes. Okay,
great. Thank you very much. Mr. Cascarilla, many argue, some anyway, a U.S. Less than the majority, shall I say. The CBDC could strengthen the dollar globally, but they, of course, raise concerns about privacy and free market competition. How does a payment stablecoin approach these concerns differently?
I think the important point with the payment stablecoin issued by private issuers is that you're creating the innovation to respond to the market in a very timely manner. And we're still at a very early stage of the market where there's a lot of innovation that is still needed. I think that there have been some examples of attempt for CBDCs to be issued by other countries, and they've been perceived as surveillance coins and have not been widely adopted as of yet. And I think that could potentially be a limitation to the U.S. being able to successfully issue a CBDC.
Can payment stablecoins strike a better balance between preserving individual privacy rights and maintaining the dollar's status as a leading global currency?
I agree with that.
You agree we could find a better balance?
I think that the right balance is to make sure that the private sector is leading and being able to create the innovation and being able to make sure that it's responding to the market as fast as possible. And I think that's going to be done from the private sector.
Do you think the protections are then enough within the Stable Act and 521 for that matter?
I do think that they are fit for purpose. I think that they have the right BSA AML rules as well as the right reserving requirements and the right international reciprocity can be put into place to make sure that the U.S. is setting the standards that everyone follows.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Gwynn, in states like Pennsylvania, for instance, digital asset regulation is limited to money transmitter licensing. State regulators often want federal guidance on emerging technologies, but also prefer to maintain their own authority. How does the federal floor concept in the Stable Act ensure consistent national standards for stablecoins while still respecting each state's ability to regulate according to local needs?
Yeah, so I would say that the states have more flexibility in the dual banking system to have alternative regulatory frameworks. There are federal minimum standards in the banking, but they only cover a small part of the activity. Here it's pretty comprehensive. I think it would be very difficult for a state to do much other than increase standards if they wanted to do so.
Okay, great. Thanks very much, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
Thank you.